Hi, Jen Cassell here. I'm back with a project for our Scrapaholics chipboard. Today I'm using one of the brand new items available in the shop. This is the VW Bug Car mini album. It is absolutely adorable. So let's go over this chipboard set because there's multiple pieces, and I am actually going to include a Cricut tutorial because the nice thing about the mini albums there is you get an SVG file that's great for using to cut your pattern paper to complete your album in no time flat. You are going to get 6 of these VW Bug overlays. Now, the album that I'm creating is going to have an alternative binding to it. It comes with an O-ring binder, but I don't want to use that. My album is going to be really, really chunky by the time that I'm done with it, and I just don't feel one ring is going to lay correctly. So I'm actually going to do multiple rings on the side over here. And I'm going to be using this Scrapdiva die for it. I love this die because it has the stitch, the faux stitch edge to it. So it makes it look really crisp and nice. That is the one thing that I do prefer from die cutting to SVG files is you just get a really nice border on these. I love having that stitched option. So along with the 6 bases, you're going to get an overlay for the front, and then these are all of the accessories here. I will show you in Design Space how I cut these because the file does come over as this entire overlay, like including all of these little tiny lines in here. I am going to be using, I'm blending the Merry Little Christmas and this brand new White Christmas from Mintay for this album. I wanted to blend the pinks, the blues, the reds, and I think it'll have a really, really pretty outcome once I'm done. So let's head on over to Design Space and I'm going to show you how I printed all of my pattern paper for Design Space. The first thing that I'm going to do is highlight all of them and come over here to ungroup. This way you can access each of the files individually. So for purposes of my mini album, the first thing that I'm going to do is come over here and contour this. I'm going to take the hole out because I am not doing the O-ring binding. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to go over to contour and I'm just going to take that hole out right here. If I hide all of the contours, it's going to take this portion out as well, which is fine. I'm actually not going to use that in mine, but that's completely up to you. The next one, I am going to come over here to the accessories. I'm going to duplicate this because I want it to cut in both gold and white. So I'm going to switch the color over here and I'm going to put this into white. I'm going to do this into a gold. Now, I only need to cut this once because I'm only going to put the car onto the front of my album, but this one needs to be cut 12 times in order to cut all of the pages front and back of the album. So you would just highlight and come over here to duplicate, and you would want to do that 12 times. Now you're ready to cut your project. Okay, so I have everything cut out. Excuse these, they're a little mangled from when I tried to take them off my mat. I used a super sticky mat, so they didn't come apart as quite nicely as I wanted, but it doesn't really matter anyways because we're only using these parts of it. You don't need to worry about these at all. I'm actually just going to cut them off as I'm applying them to the chipboard. I'm going to put together the first page with you. As I was saying before, I used this die to create an alternative binding for the album. This is a Scrapdiva die. I will link it in the description box, and I do have a coupon code for you, Jen10, for 10% off your purchase at the shop. And while I was in Design Space as well, I decided to cut these little presents out that I'm going to include for the top of the car. I have all of my VW pieces ready to apply to my chipboard, and I'm just going to use my Barely Art glue for this. Barely Art is going to be fabulous for a project like this. It's got the quick dry time, so you can kind of speed through it all. So I'm going to use this as my base, and then this is going to be my overlay for it. Apply the glue to your chipboard. So the nice thing about using a chipboard album like this is that you are going to have all of these small pieces, the details, really secure when you're applying because you've got that added heft from the chipboard. So my next piece is going to be this blue check, and once again I'm just going to apply my glue to my chipboard. To make sure they're nice and even, I just stand it up. So to do the tires, I am just going to take some dye ink and apply it directly to the chipboard. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. While I have that set aside to dry, I am going to apply some of the paper to these accessories here. I know I definitely want my bumper in gold, so I'm just going to come over here with this to make it a little more manageable. And I'm also going to snip right here and right here too. Okay, so I have this, and now I'm just going to add a little glue to my chipboard and apply my paper. I'm gonna do that for each of my pieces. Okay, now that I have the paper covering all of my chipboard, I'm just gonna go in with some scissors and cut that chipboard out the same way you did with your paper that you had printed on your Cricut. Now, you could emboss this, you could paint it, you could do whatever you wanted, but I figured since I was already cutting, I would just go ahead and cut these as well. So you have a lot of different options. Now that I've given this a bit of a time to dry, I'm going to flip it over and put my reverse page on here. So once again, I'm just going to take out some of my Barely Art. So once I have my Barely Art down, I am going to come over here with my first of my die cuts. And this is going to be nice because I want my album to open flat. And I'm just gonna fold it over, make sure that that is really touched down. I'm gonna go ahead and do that to all 6 of my bottom pieces. Okay, now that I have all of my pattern paper pieces on, so I know everything is nicely put together, because what I did to do the reverse is just line it up with the one before it. So for instance, I've already done this one with you guys. When I was adding this layer, I put it on top. I adhered this portion to the chipboard before applying the cable knit pattern paper on this. That way I knew everything was lined up correctly and I could put my binding together. Now it's time to start adding the accessory pieces. I am using some Barely Art glue for this portion, and I'm just going to apply it. First, apply the roof of my car so that I can line up my windows properly. Now I can go ahead and line up my windows. So I'm just going to apply those right about there. Next one is going to be my bumper. The bumper also has layering pieces, which are just gonna go on like so. We've put together our album here. It looks great. I am just going to quick finish decorating it and I will be right back. So here she is, the finished product. I just love this. I'm gonna pull you in nice and tight for it. But I am so excited how this turned out. So down here I did a little floral cluster with some handmade poinsettias. I have some greenery sprigs in the back. This is a clay candy cane that I made last year. This is just a little Martha Stewart punch. I believe it's the pine branch. I created my own little wreath in the center here. This bow was made by my friend Michelle at the Shabby Chic Chick, and I have the little tiny peace sign in there. And then up here I did a couple more poinsettias, or a poinsettia. This is a sakura flower from Scrapdiva Designs, as well as some greenery sprigs in the back. You have some stamens over here, another one of those candy canes, those cute little gifts that I had cut out from Design Space. And this is actually a really, really old sticker. I believe it's a Jolie sticker that I had in my stash that I threw on there. And then once again, I switched out these O-rings here. There's something small right now. When I actually do the interior of my album, I probably will switch those out to something a little larger. The original comes with this size O-rings, so I will probably switch those out to these 3 right here when I start decorating the interior. And once again, the binding is made with this right here. I will link it in the description box as well. As we flip through the album, you can see how I did the gifts at the top, and I actually attached them to the back here to make it a little more supported. I may go back in and reprint in reverse so that I have the same thing on this side. I haven't decided. Like I said, this will probably switch up once I go in and actually do the decorating for it. And then we've got this gorgeous floral print here. We're going into some cable knits. Just absolutely beautiful papers from Mintay. This really pretty snowflake print. And then on the back is that gingham again. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to head on over to Scrapaholics Chipboard to check out some of the amazing designs in the shop. This is available now, and if you're looking for that die, I will leave it in the description box for Scrapdiva Designs. You can use my coupon code GEN10 for 10% off your purchase. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more crafty content. I'll see you in the next crafty video. Bye!